What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Shining Sarcophagus deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely nostalgic deck that just got an amazing new support card in the form of a new Dark Magician Girl. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's go and get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice. This card is definitely a 3-of in the deck. With the ability, you can special summon this card from your hand by discarding a card, and if you do, this card's name becomes Dark Magician Girl. Also, if this card is normal or special summon, you can actually add a Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. And also, this card is a crazy powerful effect that it gains 300 attack points for each monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus in the graveyards, which is an awesome ability to make this card absolutely massive. This card is exactly what the deck needed. We then played 2 copies of Gandora G. Gandora G is great as a 2-of in the build to help us go in for game, because this card gains 300 attack for each card that's banished, and also if you control a Shining Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card in the hand, and you can pay half your life points to destroy as many other cards on the field as possible, and if you do, banish them. Then special summon a level 7 or lower monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from the deck, and increase its level by the number of cards destroyed by this effect, which is a great ability to use with your copy of Silent Magician 0. We then play a single copy of Dark Magician, the Magician of Black Magic. This card is great and actually helps us step in our copy of Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. With the ability, this card's name becomes Dark Magician while it's on the field, and also if you have a Shining Sarcophagus on the field, you can special summon this card from the hand. And if this card is destroyed by a card effect and a level 5 or higher monster is on the field, you can special summon this card and then set a spell or trap from your deck that mentions Dark Magician, which is a great ability to set secrets of dark magic. And you guys should definitely check out the 3 combos you need to know to play this deck on the channel, which is going to help you guys learn this deck to help you step into awesome cards like Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. We then played 3 copies of Gadget Trio. Gadget Trio is an amazing 3-of in the build, and the best normal summon in the deck is that this card is normal or special summon. You can add a Shining Sarcophagus or a spell trap card that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to grab the exact card that you need. We then played 2 copies of Silent Magician 0. Silent Magician 0 is insane because this card is actually a spell negate that gets absolutely massive, because if your opponent draws a card, increase this card's level by the number of drawn cards. Also, while this card's level is higher than its original level, it gains attack equal to the difference times 500, and when your opponent activates a spell or effect while you control Shining Sarcophagus quick effect, you can negate the activation if you do increase this card's level by 1. We then play a single copy of Silent Swordsman 0. Silent Swordsman 0 is great as a 1-of in the build because this card is actually targeting protection and gets absolutely massive, just like your copy of Silent Magician 0. We then play a single copy of Bestial Magnamut. Magnamut is great as a 1-of in the build because this card has a crazy powerful effect that lets you target a light or dark monster in either player's grave, banish it if you do special summon this card in your hand. It's a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster, and also if this card is special summoned, you can actually activate this effect that during the end phase of this turn, you have to add a dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is a great effect to grab your copy of Gandora G, or grab a copy of Druid's Worm to help you spot remove cards off the field. We then played 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3-of in the build just to help us stop our opponent from touching the deck. We then played 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is great in this build as a 2-of to basically just stop your opponent's monster effects. We then played 2 copies of Nibiru. Nibiru is great in this build just to break your opponent's board. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is definitely a 1-of in the build just to stop your opponent's hand traps while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play a single copy of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is great to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. We play a single copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. Secrets of Dark Magic is actually searchable off the effect of your Dark Magician card, which is awesome to be able to get to this card, so we can actually turn our copy of our Dark Magician and one of our Dragon monsters into a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon by using this card to be able to fusion summon it. We then play 2 copies of Ties That Bind. Ties That Bind is great as a 2-of in the build and just an awesome card in this deck, because if you control a Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, you can actually special summon it to 2 level 4 or lower monsters with different names that mention Shining Sarcophagus from your hand and or deck. Also, for the rest turn out the card resolves, you cannot special summon the X deck, which is not that big of a deal in the deck, until you just basically swarm cards out to your side of the field, and then just basically pass the opponent, especially when we're actually establishing cards like Silent Swordsman 0 as targeting protection and our copy of Silent Magician 0 that's actually a spell negate, along with everything else we're already putting on the field in this build. We then play 2 copies of Turn Silent. Turn Silence is really good as a 2-of in the build, and just an awesome card in the deck. It actually lets you target a face-up monster you control and increase its level by 3. Also, if you activate this card in response to your opponent's monster effect activation while you control Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, negate that opponent's effect, which is a great ability to be able to use to basically just increase our copy of Silent Swordsman 0 or Silent Magician 0 up by 3, and also use this card as a negate, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of Shining Sarcophagus. Shining Sarcophagus is definitely a 3-of in the build because the entire deck revolves around this card, with the ability it cannot be destroyed by monster effects, so Gandor will actually not destroy this card when it activates its ability, and also you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. That during your main phase, you can actually add a card that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, except a copy of this card, and if your opponent special summons a monster from the graveyard, you can discard a spell and then target one of those monsters and send it to the grave, which is a great effect to be able to use, but it's awesome to be able to search a card every single turn off this card's effect. Speaking of searching cards, we're also playing 3 copies of Future Silence. This card is really good as a 3-of because this card is essentially the Rhoda for the deck. I think you add a monster that mentions Shining Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand. Then if you activate this card during the battle phase, while you control Shining Sarcophagus and a monster that mentions it, each player draws until they have 6 cards in their hand, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is really good in this build because the X-Deck is just toolbox, and we're basically just playing cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and the X-Deck at 3, so we guarantee that we're not going to banish all 3 copies of it because we rarely go into the X-Deck in this build besides cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and it's basically just toolbox. This card is great to help us draw 2 cards in this build to dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. So, that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is definitely a 3-of in the build just to stop your opponent's monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. This card is currently one of the most powerful hand traps in the entire game and definitely a 3-of in the build. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, keep in mind we are playing Pot of Extravagance in this build, so you are going to see a lot of 2 and 3-ofs in this extra deck, so we don't banish all of our copies of a single card. So we're going to start off with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This card is single-handedly the most important card in the entire extra deck to be able to summon, because this card is just basically an insane boss monster. Can be destroyed by card effects, can be targeted by card effects, can pop cards on the field, and also is a walking negate, which is actually insane to help us protect our copy of Shining Sarcophagus. We then play 2 copies of Chaos Angel. Chaos Angel is great as a 2-of in the build, as it's so easy to go into, especially now that we have our Dark Magician Girl, which is actually a level 6 Dark, to be able to pair with our copies of our 0 monsters, to be able to put Light and Dark into this card, which is awesome to be able to do. Plus, when it's summoned out to your side of the field, it spot removes cards off the field, and it also gives you a little bit of protection for your monsters, which is great. We then play 2 copies of Baguska. Baguska is great in this build as a 2-of, just in case just need to slow down the game, and it's a really powerful card overall in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Typhon. Typhon is great in every single deck, and this card is awesome to be able to summon out to your side of the field as a skill drain for 3,000 or higher attack with monsters, and it's a bounce, which is great. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code's great as a 1-of in the build just to help us pop multiple cards on the field and also use this card to be able to go in for game, but it is a good option in the deck, but you don't always go into this card, which is why we play it just at 1. We then play a single copy of Blacklister Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. Hopefully, this card eventually turns into an awesome boss monster for Shining Sarcophagus, and definitely comment down below what monster you would like to see turned into a Shining Sarcophagus monster. I would actually love to see Buster Blader turned into one, which would be so cool to actually see it as an awesome boss monster, and then maybe a Dark Paladin, which would be insane. But this card is awesome in the build, as if it's Link summoned using a level 7 or higher monster as a material. Your opponent cannot target it with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects to either let it gain 15 or attack, make a second attack during the battle phase of the next turn, or non-targeting banish a card, which is great to be able to do. We then play a single copy of Selene, so we can summon out our copy of Access Code, and then finally play 2 copies of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is great to be able to use in this deck, basically as a double interruption, just in case you need to, and it's just a really good option in this build to be able to play, as it just helps you just deal with your opponent's board. So, that's it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely comment down below which monster you would like to see turned into a Shining Sarcophagus monster. Again, I would like to see Buster Blader. I think that would be really, really cool. And definitely check out the 3 combos that you need to know to play this deck, which is super helpful to be able to learn how to play the Shining Sarcophagus deck. And it's just such a consistent deck now that we have a way to search out our copy of Shining Sarcophagus using Dark Magician Girl. Plus, this card is just super cool. So, that's gonna do this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell and there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.